Welcome to Olympic Beer Drinking with Uncle Michael, your favorite internet uncle, your favorite pal. Not exactly sure what we're going to be doing with Olympic beer drinking, except for we're going to drink some beer. The idea is, being older and wiser and having drank quite a few more beers than most of you, I'm here to help you. Yes, you, freshly 21, you freshly out of college at first job, you who are ready to embark in a world that is more than $2 Keystone Light. You who are ready to know something about good beer. I want to help you. I want to share with you a little bit. If you watch this, what I'm going to tell you is you're going to know whether or not this beer that we're about to experience together is worth drinking. And you're also going to learn something that maybe you didn't know before. That's my goal in a short little snippet. And also to, just try out this YouTube channel stuff. I mean, why not? We're in the middle of a quarantine. What else do I have to do? Anyway, but here, we're going to move forward right now. So it's called Olympic Class Beer Drinking. Still watching at this point, that's good, because let's first talk about today's beer. This is the first beer on Olympic Class Day Drinking. Not chosen for any reason other than new beer that I met this week. This right here is 8-track. I'm going to get in there real close, and of course it's going to be a little bit mirrored, but this gives you the idea. This is from the Real Ale Brewing Company, and if you're in Turkmenistan, which is somewhere over here, then you're probably never going to drink this. First of all, because it's not imported outside of its native Texas, which is over here, of course, right there. Not here, because that would be the Caribbean Sea, but right here, Texas. And in fact, in Texas itself, which is really, really ridiculously large, it comes from a little bitty town called Blanco, Texas, which is right there, Blanco, Texas. Now, the Real Ale Brewing Company's been doing some good stuff for several different years, for a long time now. And they don't put beer anywhere outside of the state of Texas. And the reason for that is pretty straightforward. They believe that the longer that a beer has to travel, the less likely it's going to be good in its final destination. That's their marketing speak for, we don't really have a market outside of Texas yet, but they should, because it's really good craft beer. They make a lot of different kinds, and as long as I keep doing this video series, you're going to see some of those over the course of over these videos. But for now, this is the inaugural one. This is an amber ale that they've just started producing, and it's called 8-track. And you're going to notice right here, anybody who's my age or older, they totally recognize that art scheme, because that is 8-track tape art right there. 8-track tape. Now, here's the thing. What is an 8-track? Well, it comes from a magical time known as the 1970s. That's right, children, the 1970s. Now, in the United States in the 1970s, it wasn't like today. In fact, there were a lot of things that were different. For instance, your TV came to you through the air, and you had rabbit ears, these giant metal antennas, or you had a large antenna on the roof. And when your sister would blow dry her hair, you would get nothing but static on the television. You know that experience of intense frustration that you feel today when there's like a major storm happening and suddenly it's all pixelated on your satellite television, and you're like, why can't I get my satellite TV? That was every single morning when your sister was blow drying her hair. My sister was 10, 11 years older than me. She was blow drying her hair. I'm trying to watch Captain Kangaroo, also a thing from the 70s. I'm trying to watch the Captain Kangaroo TV show, or maybe the Batman television show. Not getting to watch it because it's suddenly staticky. I don't even know if you understand what that means, but static and annoying. The 70s also included cool hats like these, which have made a comeback in the last 10 years or so. In fact, those shorts that you're seeing around all the time over the last, say, 5 years, that have the piping down the side that's a different color from the rest of the shorts, pretty much 1970s style comeback. The other thing you need to know about the 1970s is this was a thong. That's right. That's why your mother or your father or your great uncle, or perhaps if you're really young, your grandparents, they are confused when you say the word thong, because this is what they picture. That's not what you mean, is it? You naughty kids, you. The 70s also would have included cool gifts like this at Christmas time. This is an Uncle Henry knife, or a buck knife, was another big company at the time. This would have been a major gift. Nowadays you get your iPod. Oh, that didn't exist. Oh, you get What else did cell phones didn't exist. Yeah, let's see. Satellite television didn't exist. Um, oh, Tampa Bay Buccaneers didn't exist till the late 70s. Uh, and Jacksonville Jaguars didn't exist at all. That's right. That's very American-centric of me. It also was a time for long gas lines because OPEC was a thing. The Vietnam War came to an end. The bicentennial happened. And then also music, and some really great music was done during the 70s. In fact, the song that was opening up, that may be the official theme song of Olympic beer drinking, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers by ZZ Top, they hit their stride in the 1970s. Their biggest hit in the 1980s, but still, the 1970s was a time for the little band from Texas to get some renown. Now, let's talk more specifically about 8-track, not the beer, but 8-tracks themselves. You have a fellow by the name of Les Paul to thank for the existence of 8-tracks, and therefore the name of this beer. Now, an 8-track was a big old cartridge. I don't have an example of one right now, but basically, it's half the size of this box. And the 8-track was the first portable way to carry music. So now you have MP3 files, you can put them on your phone, you can put them on a watch, you can do all kinds of things. Back then, transferring music around personally was not something that was normal. It was a new thing. It became common in the 70s, but before the 70s, there wasn't anything like that. And so the 8-track was the first portable way to carry around music. Now, it was primarily developed in the 1940s, and part of it was by the impetus of a guy named Les Paul. And the other thing that you have Les Paul to thank for is, well, everything that has anything to do with music. Alexa, play songs by Les Paul.
Shuffling songs by Les Paul on Amazon.
Something else you couldn't do in the 1970s. So he's playing an electric guitar, and the electric guitar, solid body with pickups, the thing that you see all the musicians play, Les Paul pretty much gave that to the world. It's the whole reason why you get to play Guitar Hero at all. We're going to let Les Paul play in the background while we continue to talk about the 8-track. Now, the 8-track was the first portable system in a car. That happened prior to the 1970s, 1965, as a matter of fact. And here's something that's kind of interesting. The Learjet company, of all things, was responsible for it. They wanted to have music players in the planes. And so they helped develop and funded the 8-track sound system. First car to have the sound system in it, 1965 Mustang, because Learjet partnered with the Ford Motor Company to include the 8-track player in Fords, Thunderbirds, and all the Lincolns in 1965. So it was the first car that you could drive around. It was even advertised. You could drive around and you could play music in it. The RCA company had the very first catalog of 8-tracks, and they back cataloged everything and produced them, so you would have the option of putting the music in your car. Now, I remember 8-tracks from when I was very young, and I remember riding around with my brothers. They were taking me to school, to kindergarten or whatever, and their Ford pickup. We had an 8-track player. I remember listening to, first time I ever heard Kiss was on an 8-track. So I heard Detroit Rock City, I heard Love Gun, I heard Beth, all of that on an 8-track. I used to play Beach Boys' Endless Summer 8-track over and over and over again until it broke sometime in the early 80s. The 8-track had, basically you could put continuous amount of music for a track, and then it was called 8 tracks, but you basically had 4 sides in each program, 4 programs, and each program was essentially 2 tracks. That's how you got to the 8-track concept, I think. But at any rate, you couldn't fast forward, you couldn't skip. You basically had to listen to the entire program. If you pushed the button and skipped to the next program, you skipped like on Endless Summer, which was a compilation of Beach Boys songs. You skipped like 15 songs if you went from 1 to 2. So you went from Surfing Safari to In My Room, and you missed great ones like Daddy Took the T-Bird Away. In fact, Alexa, play Daddy Took the T-Bird Away. Can't get good help these days, can you? Alexa, play Daddy Took the T-Bird Away, Beach Boys.
Fun isn't included with Prime, but is available with Amazon Music.
You really can't get good help these days. Alexa, play a Beach Boys song.
Shuffling songs by the Beach Boys on Amazon Music.
Exactly. That would be off of, I believe, That's Good Vibrations, and I'm pretty sure that's off the Pet Sounds album. Not important for our discussion of the beer. I tell you, you can't get good help these days. The production company here for Olympic beer drinking, by the way, consists of myself, that Alexa Dot, Echo Dot over there, and a 2 foot tall Schauser. All right, now you've waited long enough. Let's get to the pour on the beer. By the way, 8-tracks continued in existence up until about the last album to be on an 8-track was in the 1980s, 1988, and it was Fleetwood Mac's Greatest Hits. 8-tracks kept being made for a long time because you could buy 12 of them for a penny from the Columbia Record Company. There was an advertisement in all of the magazines and comic books and all that kind of stuff. So you could get a bunch of music for nothing, and then they would send you ones every month that you didn't want, and you just send it back. But 8-tracks eventually replaced by the cassette tape, and then the cassette tape replaced by the CD, and the CD replaced by the MP3 player. Now, fun fact about the Real Ale Brewing Company of Blanco, Texas. A town in Texas is on the inside of every one of these beer caps, which is an idea that I'm pretty sure that they stole from Red Dog, which isn't brewed anymore, and Ice House from the early 90s, which had sayings and words and things like that in it. But this one happens to be Corpus Christi. So shout out to anybody in Corpus Christi, where I used to live, who is watching this, Corpus Christi in Texas, Body of Christ, probably some other Corpus Christis around the world. Now, here we go. Glass, 8-track. Here's the pour. It's an amber ale, and so it's going to come in nice in a deep kind of reddish color, and it's got a nice, good, creamy head that's forming there. I'll hold that up so you can take a good look at it, get it in close, so it's some good carbonation. Now, according to 8-track itself, they're going to say deep flavors of caramel and toffee fade into a smooth finish. Enjoy the simple beauty of a well-crafted classic. That's the way they look at it. But that is a pretty beer. It sure is. Now, this is a lot better than that Keystone that you've been drinking, kids. This is real beer. Another thing about the 70s, your choices in America were pretty much, you were going to drink Miller High Life, you were going to drink Budweiser, you were going to drink Michelob or Old Milwaukee, or in Texas you were going to have Lone Star. In Oklahoma, you were going to have Near Beer, which was a beer that was 3% alcohol or less, because they had laws that kept that from happening. There wasn't really a craft beer scene at the time. That came later. And in fact, light beer didn't exist yet in the beginning of the 70s either. So there you go. Yep, that's good stuff. I know I'm supposed to tell you something about it. Like all amber ales, it's got that. Alexa, stop. They call it caramel and toffee, but it's got that slight bitterness that comes in an amber ale, but finishes really smooth. It is creamy at the top. Then it's just the right strength for the kind of beer that it is. Real ale tends to make beers that are a little bit stronger in their alcohol content. Side note, fun fact, April 11th, by the way, National 8-Track Day. But every day can be 8-Track Day if you live in Texas. You're sitting here and you're doing the fun little, COVID-19 quarantine stuff that's coming to an end right now. At least here in Texas it is. It's been going on. This is a good way to pass quarantine time, by the way. Nothing like a good beer. Although I've learned that unlike Texas, some places in the world don't consider the liquor store to be an essential business. Texas has that under control because there's a few things that we know in Texas. We know about, what all do we know about in Texas? We know about beer. We know about having a good time. We know about guns and shooting things. We also know that you got to keep people happy. So if you're going to make them stay home and deal with their wife and deal with their kids and deal with their husbands and deal with all the stuff that's going to go on with, hey, I can't pay my bills, you better make sure they can buy the lottery tickets and get themselves to a liquor store to get themselves some good beer. That is Yummy. I heard today, by the way, that Ben & Jerry's has a whole new flavor of ice cream called Netflix and Chill. To which I wonder, what does that taste like? I'm betting it's kind of salty. Hey! Oh, by the way, the very first karaoke machine in the world, an 8-track based karaoke machine. How about that? So you got Les Paul, who's using 8 tracks to figure out a new way to record music, to layer different tracks on top of one another, so that you can work the music a little bit better. Other people, sound engineers, can explain that a lot better than me. You got Mr. Lear of the Lear Jet Company going, "Hey, I need personal music in the luxury vehicle." You got Ford Motor Companies going, "I bet we could sell a lot more of these cars if there was a way for you to listen to the Beatles or Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass in the privacy of your car while you're driving around." And then you got some guy over in Japan going, "You know what the world needs? The world needs karaoke." And he apparently wasn't wrong, because their jets don't still have 8 tracks. Ford Motor Company still doesn't have 8 tracks. They barely have Lincoln anymore. And Les Paul's dead. But you know what? You can still sing karaoke. You can still sing karaoke to your heart's content. This, by the way, good beer. One final thing before we go. Obviously, this is a YouTube video, so I'm supposed to say at this point, if you like the video, please, 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 please. That wasn't skipping, by the way, like a record in the 1970s. Nope, that was just me saying, please, 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 please. Click like, click follow, click all that kind of stuff. I'm not making any money off of this deal. I'm just trying to share with you a good beer and to be mildly entertaining. And so if you've liked it at all, share it, click on it. I'm supposed to beg for followers. That's what they tell me makes a successful one of these things. But, what do I care? I'm old, and I just want to drink beer. And, it's quarantine, so I can't drink beer with my friends. So I'm drinking beer with you. Cheers. And one last little bit of advice. Friends, while you're out there living in this world right now, one thing I can definitely tell you that you shouldn't do is don't drink bleach. Thanks.